Crazy weekend in MLS. It's going to be another crazy week here on MLSnet.com's Extra Time. I'm Greg Lawless, Shep Messing here. And a little later on, we're going to talk to Danny Dichio of Toronto FC. And a little later on, the greatest goal scorer in MLS history, maybe. We're going to have a little final thought about that. But first, we have to ask the question. All these goals being scored, everyone in MLS seems to be scoring. Now, what's going on with this? Goals, goal scorers, everyone's becoming a goal scorer all of a sudden.
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, you were a former defender. I think it's ridiculous, but I think it's great. And I think it all emanates from the midfield. There was a time when we had players like Echeverry, Valderrama, Peter Novak. They were missing for a while. We have a new breed of creative attacking catalysts in the midfield. Scalotto, Marinelli. And I think those are the guys initiating the scoring.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. They're also, I think, providing for some of the American players. It's sort of the Landon Donovan effect or the Tab Ramos effect that 10 years ago, everyone was Marcelo Balboa, Alexi Lawless, Mike Sorber. All these guys were defenders. Now we're creating, attacking players who are expected to express themselves. Eddie Johnson, Justin Mapp. I mean, I think it's wonderful to see, and I think that that's something that Americans are finally beginning to produce.
Well, I think you're the great philosopher, and I think you're right. I think it's all about money.
Defenders are all philosophers.
Yeah, we're the smart ones.
Yes,
but
we are.
I think it's all about money because it's the evolution of the sport in this country. Now a young kid growing up in America wants to be a soccer player. Mom and dad said, go be a goal scorer. You get the money.
Well, this is a business. I think nobody can forget that. And you look at a player like Clint Dempsey, who's obviously cashed in after he learned to express himself and became a great creative player. Now, another player up in Toronto, Danny Dichio. He scored this past week in their 4-0 win against FC Dallas, and he's joining us on the phone right now.
Hey, Danny, always an adjustment when you go to a new club and a new country. Tell us how you've made the adjustment. What do you think of the fans up in Toronto and the league?
As part of the fans have really taken to me as well, so they've helped me settle in extra well as well, and who couldn't give their heart going out to play for a bunch of fans like we've got at the moment.
Danny, you've played at some of the top levels around Europe. Now you're here. What do you think of MLS so far?
I think it's good. I think there's a lot of kind of question marks about the league in England, but I think it's growing stronger as it is. The league's attracting a lot more players. Obviously, David's coming over in August, and we've got players coming from South America now, big names in their countries that are wanting to play in the league. And me personally, playing in the league, I think it's a very strong league. I think the guys that we've got playing over here, the American guys and the Canadian guys, are very strong athletically, very physical, and I think it's a strong league to play in. And I've been pleasantly surprised with it.
You've played with a bunch of different strikers up front. Now you're with Jeff Cunningham. He's got a record of scoring goals. Not always the easiest guy to get along with. How you doing teamed up with him?
I'm getting on very well with him at the moment. He keeps me in my place and I keep him in his place. So we've got that love-hate relationship at the moment. But he's a fantastic guy. He's a great goal scorer. He's scored a lot of goals in this league, and he's for a big guy like me, he's a pleasure to play with up front because me coming short and linking things up, and I know that Jeff's going to be running in, finding the space in behind me.
Well, Dan, it looks like it's doing really well. We'd love to have you in the studio next time you're in New York. Come and join us here.
Definitely. I'd love to come down.
Great. Thanks for joining us today. And Danny Dichio scored a great goal this past weekend for Toronto in a 4-0 win. Thanks a lot, Danny. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank
Danny.
you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, so goals and goal scoring all over the place in MLS this past weekend. And that brought up a question for me and for Shep. If there were 15 minutes left, you're down 1-0, you need a goal. Right now, what 5 players in MLS would you want to have on the field?
That's easy. Crunch time, I want Twellman, Juan Pablo Angel, Jaime Moreno, De Rosario, Carlos Ruiz.
All right, got to take a tasty on that one.
Go ahead.
De Rosario, last week you said De Ro should be traded by Houston. Now you've got him on your list of one of your top 5 players to have in the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a malcontent in Houston, so he needs to be traded, but it's not just about scoring, in the run of play. It's about getting a free kick. If you get a free kick last 15 minutes, I want Dero on the ball.
I don't have Jaime Moreno on my list, so why Jaime? Is it the same thing? You just want him
same
out there?
thing. I think he can create, and I think he could get in the box, draw a penalty, convert on a PK.
I don't know. I think Jaime's done. I think he's over the hill at this point.
Well, you said you loved him a month ago.
Well, a month ago I did love him. I think he made a change, though. So.
Well, what about your list?
All right, so my list starts out with Carlos Ruiz, El Pescadito. Then I go to Twellman, I go to Angel, I go Michael Galindo from Chivas USA, and I finish with Landon Donovan, who I know you're not very excited about.
Well, I like your first 3. We agree, but
right.
The last 2, Galindo, I think is brilliant.
Speed. It's all
Hey,
speed.
How old is the guy? 20 years
Hey,
old? 23
you got
years
15
old?
minutes left. As a defender, I can tell you that speed will kill you last 15 minutes.
Has he ever scored a big goal in a big game? I think he can be a great player, but Landon is the guy I'm going to take you to task. Look, Landon, here we go. I'm on the Landon Donovan crusade. I love the guy. I just wish he would do more. I've seen him shrink too many times in a game. He could run at a defense, he could get a goal, but I just got the feeling it's all about Landon.
He's been involved in 7 of the Galaxy's 11 goals this year. I think he's a player you have to have on the field. You need him out there for LA. Now, if you have some thoughts for your own top 5, or if you have some questions about our top 5, I'm sure you do, you can email us at extratime@mlsnet.com.
Hey, big guy, your final thoughts include one of the greatest goal scorers ever in Major League Soccer.
They do, and that's Jason Kreis. Real Salt Lake is still having lots of troubles. They can't seem to get anything going for themselves right now. They lost to Los Angeles 3-2 this past weekend. The question is, can they score goals? Their best goal scorer right now is sitting on the sideline. Jason Kreis needs to become a player manager. I know it sounds a little strange. It doesn't happen in any other sport in the U.S., but it happens all over the world in soccer, and it's happened in MLS before with Walter Zenga up in New England. Jason, get out on the field and start scoring some goals for your team.
Greg, I agree with you. I'll tell you why. Because the greatest way to lead is by example. And I think for Jason Kreis to be on the field exhorting his team to play, I think that's the greatest thing he can do for that franchise.
Yeah, and that franchise needs a win. Now, if you need some more extra time, you can join us next week. We'll be here again. Shep, Greg, extra time at MLSnet.com. Join us again next week. We'll kick it around again.